The Austrian Grand Prix was probably the first time that Ferrari actually proved they could fight Red Bull. It was the first race they've won where something hasn't gone horribly wrong for Red Bull. So are they now title contenders again? Or is it just a one-off win? We're going to talk about why they won in Austria and also why the result of the Austrian Grand Prix might mean they're already out of the championship race. Max Verstappen was the favourite to win the Austrian Grand Prix. It was his home race and he had won 4 of the last 6 races on the track. There were a few different reasons why Max failed to win in Austria though, but today we're going to focus on why Ferrari's aero design helped them gain the upper hand at the Red Bull Ring. The big advantage Ferrari had in Austria was their tyre degradation was far better than Red Bull's. No, I don't mean they managed to destroy their tyres quicker than Red Bull, I mean they managed to preserve them. This was thanks to the excellent traction of the F175. The longitudinal energy created by the F175 turning its wheels is distributed to all the structure of the tyre thanks to how the tyre stays parallel to the track. The new Pirelli tyres are made up of a carcass, belt and cap plies, which create a stiff system, widening the contact surface of the tread and preventing tyre deformation. Because of how the new ground effect floors work, there is a lot of vertical thrust applied to the tyres, but Ferrari's suspension geometry is designed to recover some camber and keep the tyres parallel to the track. This helps compensate for any rolling that happens in the corners. Turning corners also creates lateral acceleration, which in turn causes sliding and oversteering during acceleration. Both of these increase the rate the tyre degrades, and the Ferrari suspension helps to minimize both of these factors. Mechanical stresses release energy into the lateral sections of the carbon and composite-made shoulder of the tyre. The F175 suspension helps to reduce the damage to the tyre here as well. The suspension setting helps to lighten the load on the tread, controlling the degradation in all 3 stints of the Austrian Grand Prix. We saw that while the Ferraris managed to run for 24 laps on the medium tyres they started on, Max Verstappen only managed 12 before the tyre degradation was so bad he couldn't hold Charles Leclerc off any longer. When Verstappen came out of the pits after being passed by Leclerc, he had a brand new set of hard tyres on. In the 12 laps that followed, before Leclerc had to pit, Verstappen only managed to go 0.59 seconds a lap faster than Leclerc. The hard tyre is expected to be slower than the medium tyre when they are the same age, but it was surprising that Max wasn't able to be faster than 0.59 seconds a lap during that period. Especially considering Leclerc had his first set of medium tyres on during that period, and they were twice as old as Verstappen's mediums when Verstappen made the switch to hards on lap 12. If we compare this to the 12 laps after Leclerc's first pit stop on lap 24, you can really see why he was able to win the race. There were 12 laps between Leclerc's first pit stop and Max Verstappen's second pit stop, and during that time, they were both on hard tyres, but Leclerc's were 12 laps younger. In that period, he lapped at an average of 1.34 seconds faster than Max. Max gained 7.08 seconds on Leclerc from lap 12 to lap 24 after his first pit stop. Leclerc gained 16.08 seconds on Max from lap 24 to 36. That is a huge difference in Formula 1 terms. The medium was quicker than the hard on the day, but Verstappen's high wear rate didn't allow him to stay on it for long enough. Leclerc being able to stay on the initial medium almost twice as long as Verstappen was the absolute foundation of his winning advantage. What may be significant is that there were 2 different tyre degradation mechanics at play, thermal deg and wear, and their relative importance seemed to change between the different conditions of Saturday and Sunday. Thermal degradation is when the tyre simply becomes saturated with heat and the structure can no longer support the full loads. This was a dominant mechanism on Saturday, but on Sunday, with a cooler track and less rubber built up on the surface, wear became the dominant mechanism. It may well be that within this change is the secret to the Red Bull's lost speed. In Austria, Ferrari had a rocket of a car and managed to take the win comfortably. The excellent tyre degradation was helped by formidable traction induced by the rear suspension. The suspension ensures the tyres are at the right laying angle on the track to maximise grip and traction. In the high-speed corners, the F175 handled perfectly because of this. What was surprising was how well it was balanced both in the race with a full fuel load and in qualifying with a much lighter load. The aero balance was refined in the wind tunnel before the team went to the Red Bull Ring. Ferrari used load maps on the front and rear wing to maximise the driving precision, defined by the front end, and to ensure the rear end had a balanced load to improve their tyre degradation even further. The result was the car feeling extremely balanced for the driver, a confirmation of the aero qualities of the F175. All of this was displayed perfectly in the television footage during the race. The corner entries on both Leclerc and teammate Carlos Sainz's cars, until the Spaniard retired at least, were extremely sharp and precise, but even more important was the traction displayed on the exits. In the second sector, the twisty section of the Red Bull Ring, the F175 displayed its potential in full and made up plenty of time on the RB18. Ferrari have been criticised for their approach to race strategy this year, with a 2022 campaign featuring several incidents. This included Leclerc losing potential wins in Monaco, where he pitted amid mixed messages from his engineer, and Great Britain, where he was left out on old hard tyres during a late safety car period. Formula One world champion Mika Hakkinen noted the decisive nature of Ferrari's strategic calls at the Red Bull Ring, and stressed that this must continue if they are to remain in the fight. Ferrari's race strategies have caused some problems this year, but not on Sunday, emphasised Hakkinen. When they saw Max switch to a two-stop strategy, they followed, but by making the pit stop significantly later, they always retained a strong tyre advantage. This is a kind of confident strategy Ferrari will need to maintain if they're to consistently challenge Red Bull. Unfortunately for Ferrari, despite everything they got right in Austria, they have far bigger problems on the horizon. Carlos Sainz's retirement from the Austrian Grand Prix was another symptom of what's gone wrong for Ferrari so far this season. They might have the best engine on the grid, but they also have the most unreliable. Each driver is given a limited number of engine parts each season, and in Ferrari's case, they're running out. Mika Hakkinen also pointed to reliability as a potentially deciding factor this season. Carlos's engine failure shows that Ferrari still have work to do on reliability, and I'm sure they must know where the problems lie, he continued. Charles cannot afford to have those kind of failures if he is to close the gap to Max. In fact, he needs Max to have a non-finish if the points gap in the World Championship is to really close down. Just how bad is the reliability problem for Ferrari? Well, we think it's bad enough that they don't stand a chance in either championship anymore. The engine part allowance is meant to last a driver for the whole season, but in round 9 of 22 in Canada, Charles Leclerc took his first penalty and started from the back of the grid. It isn't uncommon for drivers to take engine penalties during an F1 season, but it was very surprising to see someone taking one so soon. To get the penalty he did, he used 3 complete engines in just 8 races, which is insane. Those penalties don't stop now he's taken one though. For the rest of the season, each time he has an engine problem, he won't only not finish in the race, but he will start the next one from the back of the grid, assuming he needs to change engine parts. This is a huge blow to the Drivers' Championship chances, but it isn't only the Monegasque that's in trouble, it's his team as well. Carlos Sainz has also used the maximum number of engine parts allowed, and that is before we take into account the damage to his engine in Austria. It's likely at the next stop on the calendar in France, he'll be starting from the back of the grid due to engine penalties now. If they carry on going through engines at the speed they have been, both drivers could start 4 of the remaining 11 races at the back of the grid. It is really unfortunate for Ferrari that just as they found some pace to compete with Red Bull, their reliability problems are going to spoil the rest of their season. Unfortunately for you Tifosi watching, you might have to wait until next year now to see Ferrari secure a championship title. If they do manage to get this engine working consistently though, they might be in a position to dominate the sport until the next set of regulation changes in 2026. If you want to know more about what's happening in F1, then check out the video showing on your screen right now, and I'll see you there.